For all things outdoors, listen to the father of two, the Jesus-loving, TV show hosting, hairy, true-blood American redneck, Ben Cole.
And listen to the outdoor filming, chef cooking, chocolate milk drinking, John Weissmuller. And we are
Rooted Podcast. Hi, what's up, Ben? How we doing today, man?
Man, we are doing good. Glad to be back on the mic. And today we are going to be talking about one question that I think me and you can answer pretty well. And that question is technology ruining hunting? What are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, right? So you could break it down into trail cameras. You can break that down even further, right, into cell cameras and other things. You can break technology down into bows that shoot 300 some odd feet per second, right? Crossbows, different mechanical broadheads. There's a lot that goes into that. I would say that technology is not ruining the sport, right? I don't think it's ruining anything. If anything, it's just enhancing it. It's just making it to where more people can be involved, which I think is a good thing. And, you know, really, I just think that it just gets people interested. And, times are moving and the sport of hunting needs to move with them. So that's how I feel about that. I mean, I don't think technology's really ruining anything. It's just changing things.
Yeah, so everything has to change at some point, right? That's almost like the survival of the fittest, is it has to change and adapt and overcome at some point or another. So my opinion on that is the same as what you are. I don't think that it's hurting anything, because from our standpoint, having to go and hunt all these different states, we don't have time to traditionally scout everywhere. Now, do we know how to scout? Yes, we do. Do we actively scout? Well, sure. But that doesn't mean that we have time to go to Texas and film an episode and be successful. We don't
Right.
have time to scout and do that. And this is totally on the trail cam side that you brought up first. Those trail cameras really have helped us be able to, and this is cellular cameras. So those cell cams, data cams, actually, because we're running those WiseEyes, the WiseEye technology. But I'm telling you, man, those data cams are hands down crucial for what we do. And I think it's very beneficial too, because you're actually learning more people. It's easier for people to learn how to actually pattern deer off these kind of cameras, because they tell you everything you need to know.
Exactly. And, you got some Western states out there, right? Utah, Arizona, Nevada, that have actually just completely banned trail cameras for hunting purposes. And their kind of theory, right, their argument is that it brings an unfair advantage to the animal. It gives an unfair advantage to the hunter that is pursuing this animal. Out there, mostly mule deer, elk, some whitetail.
Mm-hmm.
And just, from what I've gathered, that's their argument. And to me, it's like, I it's still a wild animal. Like, just because I got some pictures of something doesn't mean that it's just a guarantee. I mean, I've had plenty of, deer on camera and then go there and, you are still on its field. Like it's got the upper hand. I mean, you're in its environment. So I just don't think that cell cameras, whatever, give you an unfair advantage.
Well, one thing to note on that too, I think the point that they're also trying to get across is, these cameras are unfair because, you can see them on the screen in real time, right? Well, here's the thing. By the time you get in your truck
Sure.
and you drive out there, they're probably going to be gone. Deer that I've seen, they do
Yeah.
not stay in the same place for very long. They're constantly moving, constantly going somewhere else. So theoretically, by the time you even have time to get there, they're already gone. So there's
Yeah.
really
And
and
then,
here's another thing
yeah.
too, though, you got to think about is we have to still beat their eyes, their nose, and their ears. It doesn't matter if that camera's like, yes, they are here right now. Okay, guess what? You still have to beat those other three senses that are very good at what they do,
Hmm.
keeping them away from death and predators. And we are the apex predator. So, with that, I would just say that, I don't think that they are necessarily hurting the animals or an unfair advantage. It's just helping hunters like me and you who have to travel so far be able to pattern deer and go in and kill the deer we're looking for and not have to sit there and think, or not know what's there, and not be able to manage the herd properly. That's the kind of stuff that I see in the cell cam world that really, really helps is first of all, you don't have to go in there all the time, right? Second of all,
Yeah.
you can get a good understanding of what your herd looks like from afar. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on them. And then you can make decisions based on that.
Right. And I totally think that's just right on the money. Like, even if you don't travel, even if you hunt your one farm that's 10 minutes down the road, that camera helps you tremendously for just the reasons that you're saying. Like, no pressure, your scent's not going in there all the time. You're not making a bunch of racket. And I just really think that, yes, it helps the hunter, but I don't think it hurts the deer per se. I really just think that overall it doesn't give you this big huge advantage that people think, because at the end of the day you still got to beat it. And it doesn't matter what camera you got going. I mean, the deer's still a deer.
Right. I mean, the deer's still a deer. And, it's not like the camera has a gun. It's not like, the
Yeah.
camera can actually shoot the gun for you or the bow or whatever you're hunting with. So, really, I don't think it is an unfair advantage because you're simply taking inventory.
Hmm.
And really, we're after one buck and a couple does. That's usually what we're after. And what that does is that feeds our family.
Right.
So, what does it matter? What does it matter if we're using a piece of technology to help increase our odds of feeding our family? I mean, what really does that matter? Because that is all we live on is deer meat at our house. Wild game, man. That is what we live on. And if I can use something that can help me feed my babies and my wife, you better believe I'm going to do that.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, even for just the weekend warrior out there that, maybe gets to hunt 10 times a year, it's like, hey, listen, if this person wants to go put out a cell camera for their 10 chances being higher percentage for when they go out, then, like, yeah, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's roll with it. So, aside from just trail cameras, there's been a lot of advances in
Yeah.
technology, even in agriculture. So, my question is how would agriculture technology advancements make an impact negatively on wildlife? I mean, I don't think it does. I think it helps because you're planting straighter rows, you're planting more efficient, so you're getting higher yield, right? Which is what you want. I mean, just like us down there in Linden, man, we planted corn and soybeans just for the deer. Did technology help us? No. We used a 1960 model planter, but hey, you know what? It's okay because we're not doing it commercially. And I don't think either way is going to hurt the deer or whatever you're hunting. As long as you're doing it legally, I don't think it's going to make that big of an impact either way.
Yeah, and I mean, even on that note of, farming equipment, like, do you think the tractor hurt the deer? Like, no. If anything, it helped the wildlife because now we can make these things called food plots. They're pretty
Hmm.
handy to help out the herd. Like, I just don't think it's. I think people sometimes just don't like change, just
Hmm.
in general in life. And then when something's different, where it's not what it used to be, like shooting bows. I mean, my dad talks about getting this awesome brand new bow back in the day, in the early 80s, and it's versus like today's bow. And our bows shoot, you know, probably 30 feet faster a second, and, bigger, b- bigger impact and all these other things, and better arrows, and they shoot straighter, and we have a fancier broadhead. And I don't think any of that has given you an unfair advantage, because at the end of the day, you still got to hunt the animal, whatever it is, and still got to put a shot on it. Like, I just think sometimes people don't like that it's different.
Right. And change can be hard sometimes. So, it's like any other industry. You're going to have change. You're going to have things that advance as technology advances. And essentially, what we're doing is making it very, very quick and ethical with arrows, broadheads, and two, with being able to shoot the same arrow more than once after you've killed an animal. That really helps your pocketbook. Instead of having to, well, I got to go buy another gosh dang
Yeah.
aluminum arrow because it just broke in half. Guess what? I grew up in the era of aluminum arrows. I've shot them, I've shot deer with them, and every single one of them fell in half. Ping! As soon as it hit the deer, roasted. So you had to go buy a new arrow every single time you killed a deer. Not just your broadhead, but the arrow too. So now these carbon ones, they're much faster, they have more kinetic energy, and they're stronger. They last a whole lot longer. So really, you're getting more use out of the technology that has provided us with these arrows, right? And these broadheads. Now, broadheads, you're going to trash them, but they have a bigger cutting diameter. They have, more chances for pass throughs and to really kill the animal efficiently and effectively. I had somebody comment on the show of, that deer I shot in Oklahoma. They said, well, that deer just ran off and just wounded and didn't live, or just lived a horrible life. I was like, yeah, well, you're wrong. That deer ran 50 yards, and that was all. It ran 50 yards. Was the shot back? Yeah, it was back. But you know what? We got a liver and a piece of lung, and that's all you need. That's it. That's all you need. And guess
Yeah.
what? We ate that deer. Guess what I'm going to do tonight?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to eat deer chili. Guarantee you, when I get home, there will be deer chili waiting on me. And that's what I'm going to eat. So I'm not going to get away from the making it quicker, easier, and more efficient to harvest animals. I'm not going to get away from that because I like eating what I kill. I don't kill just for sport. I kill so I can sustain. And that's what I like, because deer meat and waterfowl, all that is the most pure form of food that we have, because it was created by God Almighty Himself in the beginning. But, shortly after time and all that stuff, He created man, and then He gave us all this stuff to eat. So, you know, I'm just not going to change on having the ability to provide for my family in that manner. I don't care what technology is. If it's better and more efficient, well, yeah, let's do it. Because that makes it that much better for the animal, actually, because it's more efficient. You know what I'm saying? It's more fit. Like just take the modern day
Yeah.
cartridge, for example, on a rifle. You know, it's a huge difference than a ball from a musket. That's a technological
Right.
advance. I mean, what are your thoughts
Yeah.
on
It
the
all
the
is.
ball to the musket and the rifle? What do you see
Yeah.
the biggest difference in those two things right there?
Yeah. So I know we're kind of going all over the place here, folks, but we're just fired up about it, man, because it's kind of just a silly conversation. But like, so let's just talk about that rifle for just a second. Like, I just am trying to imagine a world where we're sitting in a tree stand or a blind, and we have a musket, like a for real, not a nice CVA muzzle loader. No, 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 like a for real musket with a ball that's probably deformed in some shape or fashion, and then halfway pointing it at an animal. Versus today, right? When I take my 30-06 out and I, shoot a deer at 150 yards, and it's just really precise, well built bullet, right? That's got this nice casing, the powder's all nice and packed, and they're all like that. They're all made the same. Got a great primer, got a well built bullet that flies great, that impacts great, explodes great, and the deer's just done like that. And it's like, which one would you rather do? The little tiny ball or this awesome precision bullet? Like, sure, it helps the hunter. That's the whole point. But it also keeps that deer from suffering, or it keeps you from having a chance of wounding that animal, where if you go out and sight in your rifle, odds are that deer is going to die, I mean, within seconds. So as far as the rifle goes, something like that is just kind of point blank obvious. And I think we should take that same conversation to, crossbows, to trail cameras, things of that nature.
Yeah, man, and I agree with you on that, because like you were saying with the rifle, so the rifle is very quick and very efficient, right? The deer don't even know it's happened, it's over with. And that's what everybody
Yeah.
that's what all these people have been wanting is, well, you're unethical. That deer had to suffer. Well, that's not true. That deer dies instantly. There's
Right.
no feeling, there's no anything. They don't even know it happened. They just died. And then guess what? They become food, which is what they're intended to be. So moving forward, I know there's a lot of fuss about the crossbow as well, right? Being in the same deal as bow season.
Same season.
But yeah, same season as archery. But here's my thing on that. When I was growing up, everybody's like, oh, well, only handicapped folks shoot crossbows. Well, what do you consider handicap? I think it's a tool to kill a deer really quick. Am I saying anything about a compound bow? No, I love hunting with a compound. I love it. But also, I don't mind. My whole point with this, John, that I'm getting at is we need to stop caring so much about what everybody else is doing and just be proud for people like, yeah, man, that's awesome. Way to go. You killed a good deer.
I agree.
Fantastic. Instead of being so caught up in, well, they killed that with a bow, or they killed that with a crossbow, or look at him. He's over there shooting that poor little deer with that rifle. I think we need to stop worrying about what everybody else is doing and just either be nice or don't say anything at all. Just keep to yourself. Stay out of everybody's business. If you're going to be negative about everything. But, I mean, we have made a lot of technological advances in the hunting world that can really be the game changer in all of this. I mean, it just makes it more efficient, man.
Well, and look, we're sitting here talking about weapons and, getting the animal and all this jazz and trail cameras, and we can deep dive more into that. But like, let's talk about clothes for a second. Like, you don't think that, your grandfather or great grandfather would love to have some of this really awesome insulated, really cool camo stuff that we have now? Like, and some of these boots that are, nice and tall and durable and got good ankle support and really waterproof, like all this stuff. And like, I just, this whole argument within the hunting community as well. Like, I'm not even talking about anti-hunters or anything. Like, these are hunters bashing other hunters to be like, man, you're not a real hunter if you don't wear this, or if you don't sit on the ground, or if you don't sit on a steel tree stand. You're not a real hunter if you're sitting in this blind with a heater, or whatever. It's like, man, all these advances are happening, and if they make people, for example, the clothes, if they make people sit longer and have better hunts and make them happier and make them want to go hunting again, I think that's awesome. Because, and we can touch on this too, like, the bottom line to it all, really, really to it all is money, right? Like at the end of the day, for all these companies and things. So like if this hunter is buying this camo, right, and then hunts longer, and then buys this bow and buys that arrow and the broadhead and the tag, and then buys a camera, and then all this other hunting equipment, it's like that's only more conservation dollars. Now there's a whole conversation of what people and what states and agencies do with that money. That's a whole nother conversation. But I see nothing wrong with technology advancements helping people hunt, and people buying more products, which in turn helps out the ecosystem of whatever animal you're trying to hunt.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, that's 100% spot on. And I agree with everything you just said, because it is a lot of the hunting community. It really is. Man, I killed a bigger buck than you.
It's sad.
Or you're not a real turkey hunter because you used a fan or a decoy. All right, cool story. Guess what? I like to kill. I don't like getting skunked, John. I like to come home
Yeah.
with a bird, because guess what? I make turkey nuggets as soon as I get home. That's the deal. We kill a bird, we eat it. Plain and simple. Does
Yeah.
it matter how we get to point A or point B as long as it's within the rules and regulations of that state? No, it does not. None of that matters. As long as we are in the rules of where we're hunting, the laws, none of it matters, because everything else is just somebody's opinion. And like I do, opinions are like buttholes. Everybody's got one and they all stink.
That's right.
so, that's kind of my take on that is, it's becoming more of a competition instead of a bunch of buddies around a campfire. That's what it's turning into. And, I think that we can tie it all in together with the technology, because, hey, let's be honest. How many folks, if you want to really get down to the nitpickings of technology, how many folks are going hunting and sleeping in a tent or in a shelter that they built themselves, like a stick shelter,
Yeah,
without electricity?
exactly.
Tell me how many of y'all out there. I want to know. I really want to know. I'm very curious. And I'm not being derogatory or hateful or whatever. I am genuinely curious how many people still hunt from a man-made shelter. Like, I'm not talking about one you built yourself, like a house you built yourself. I'm talking about like a primitive shelter that you built, or a tent. That's what I want to know. How many people are still hunting that way? Because if you're not, and you have electricity, well, then you are absolutely using technology. Even if you are tent camping, if you're using a flashlight, guess what? That's technology. It's all technology. At the end of the day, everything advances over time, right? That's what it is. That's what we're dealing
Yep.
with. And I think, like I said before, I think people need to stop looking at what everybody else is doing. If everybody is doing it legal, okay, cool story. Who cares how they get to point A or B? Just let them be. Let
Yeah.
them be, and let them enjoy their time in the woods. It's not anybody else's time but theirs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that's so spot on, man. Like if there's some person out there that's just busting their tail, taking care of the family and the house and all this, and they got 3 hunts for the year, and they want to use their 30-06 or whatever, and you go sit in their blind with the heater that they spent their hard-earned money on, and they done went on and bought a tag. Like, who the heck are you to tell them that they're not a real hunter? It's like,
Yeah.
man, listen, dude. If I mean, if they can use a cell camera and it helps them harvest a deer or a whatever, I'm all for it. It's almost necessary in some aspects for some people,
Mm-hmm.
And look, man, and also on the flip side, if you've got all the time in the world, and you carve out your time to go scout and you only shoot compound bow and you only hunt out of whatever, then hey, that's awesome too. That's great. I love that for you. That's just not how I do it. You know,
Yeah.
what's the big deal?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, I agree with you, man, because I think the same way. If you're going to hunt and you have your own way of hunting, that's awesome. I'm all about it. But
Yeah,
that doesn't mean
cool.
that anybody can tell me how I can hunt, why I can hunt, or anything like that. You know, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And that is, for me, I will bow hunt. And then gun season comes. Guess what? I'm going to pick up the rifle and
Yeah.
I'm going to kill a deer. That simple. Easy peasy, plain and simple. I'm going to kill a deer. And, you know,
Yep.
and two, man, like we've touched on another episode, you know, the whole trying to shoot a giant deer. Okay, it's great to shoot a mature deer. Let's just be honest here. A mature deer does not define the animal by its antler size, right? But we can use technology
Right.
to help develop those antlers to their max potential genetically, right?
Yeah. I mean, minerals and proteins and food
Mm-hmm.
plots and all that jazz.
So it all, John, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of this, we're coming to the end, but it all boils down to making things better from technology. We're moving forward. We just have to deal with what we've got. And you know what, man? Sometimes I do things old school, like with the farming aspect of it, right? You know, I like to use my old
Sure.
school planter, but guess what? It does a great job. And I'm not planting enough acreage to justify the cost of the technologically advanced machine. You know, that's the difference is I don't have it. I'm not commercially doing this. I'm not making money off that crop. So it doesn't pay for a very expensive piece of equipment. However, my old
Mm-hmm.
school one still works. It does a great job. And that's that. But I do think technology is really good. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the moral of this story is people need to focus more on themselves as far as like pointing fingers, you know, because the old saying goes is you point one, you got three coming back at you. So, you know, I think that people need to just worry about themselves instead of always, you know, telling somebody, well, man, you're doing it wrong. You're hunting wrong because you're not using this whatever kind of ammo or whatever. What does it matter? If they're killing deer and turkeys and ducks, don't matter how they're doing it as long as it's legal. As long as it's legal, that's what I stand
Yeah.
by. Hunting legally and using your tools to your advantage is what I am for. If it's legal, go for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I mean, we didn't even touch on, speaking of turkey hunting. I mean, we didn't even touch on this whole wave of TSS. Like now, people are shooting birds effectively, like 60, 70 yards, 80 yards. Like it's getting crazy, man. It's like, hey, listen, if you want to shoot a turkey at 70 yards and you can do it, cool beans. So same concept. It doesn't matter if it's TSS or game cameras or rifles or box blinds versus sitting on the ground, like all of it. The whole moral of the story is I don't think technology is ruining hunting at all. I think it's only helping and advancing it and getting more people interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the quote unquote old heads, the people who don't want to change, listen, don't change. I'm not telling you to change. What I'm telling what I'm telling you is just accept that change is happening and people hunt different than you, and it's okay. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We're hunters, we're conservationists. We love the wild, we love the animal, we love God, and let's just go have fun in the outdoors, however you want to do it.
That's right. Nothing better than shopping in God's grocery store your own way, right? Nothing
That's
better
it,
than
man.
that, man. Just
Hey, that's it.
yeah, that is it. And you know,
Just
it's
hunt.
yeah, just hunt and feed your family. Do what you want to do. If it makes you happy, do it. As long as it's legal. You know,
Yeah,
if it's legal in your
yeah,
state,
exactly.
just do it, man. I'm all for that philosophy, but one last thing is that this ain't about anybody else. This is about your time in the woods with God. This has nothing to do with anybody, actually, other than you and God. Your time to sit with Him in perfect harmony. That's why I love the Sinking Creek Ranch so much, is because I can be down there with no cell phone service, and all I am is in the middle of God's creation, man. And there is no peace like that peace on this earth. There's seriously no peace like God's peace on this earth. Period. End of story. That's just the way that is.
Yep.
Well, folks, I think that's going to do it
That's the way
for
the
us
cookie crumbles.
on this episode. And John, if you feel the need that we want to dive in deeper on another episode, we are going to sign out. Don't forget, like and subscribe on all the social platforms, all the streaming platforms, and of course, YouTube. That's all for me. The Redneck is signing out. See y'all soon.
See y'all.